I do want to give a little bit of time to allow people to kind of come in just in case they're like a couple minutes late. So if you have any questions sort of like early on, feel free to ask them. But the first demo we're going to show you is the PAX East demo.
Copy that. Slab C-43 is all yours. Welcome to Titan.
HQ, this is Cab 6. Traffic down here is a mess. You need these isotopes today, you better send a bird.
That's a negative. Birds are busy.
What does Ryan actually do? He does a lot. So Ryan is involved with all the projects, and he also helps make sure that the company as a whole has, because we have multiple projects here at Brace Yourself Games, and we're constantly growing as a company. Like, we're constantly hiring people, and so sort of being part of that process, someone has to be in charge of that process, and so Ryan really handles a lot of that aspect and make sure that the company is running well. He also makes sure that all the projects are running well. If there's anything that they need, for example, we as a Titan recently made a call to hire a new programmer, and so sort of like understanding the need for that and then growing that aspect is what Ryan helps with. And he also helps design a lot of the aspects for all the games too, which is great because he has a lot of great design experience. So this is my colleague Chad Jenkins. He's the project lead and lead developer on Reaction Brigade.
Nice to meet you, everybody. Good to see you.
I'm just gonna adjust the audio here. I thought I had it. I think that's also the trailer is a little bit louder than usual because I did a sound check earlier. So I want to just. Here, I'm gonna lower it just a little bit. Sorry. So, Chad Jenkins. Oh, and then Riley is the composer for Phantom Brigade. Okay, so this is Chad Jenkins, and he's hasn't actually seen the Titan demo yet, which is great. So Chad will be here to sort of like give us his opinion as another developer at the company, and also like ask any questions and whatnot as I kind of go through the demo here. All right.
Yeah. Excited to see this. I've been looking forward to this ever since PAX. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Yeah. You had a lot going on with your demo as well, and that's awesome. I hope that people stick around to check out the demo after this too, because it's the Phantom demo is pretty exciting. Like it's got a lot to it. All right. Ooh, well, we're getting up to 70 people here. So if people are still coming in, I kind of want to wait. Oh, hey, Paul. So the demo audio sounds like it's clipping. Clipping in what way? That's odd. I did my earlier sound test seemed kind of fine. Oh. I bet that's.
Oh, you're like recording on top of it?
Yeah, because it was my initial sound check, so maybe that was taking some of the audio. All right, so let's see if this is better. I'm gonna give it like 5 seconds for the. Oh, Psionics. Are you from Psionics, Eric? Because I'm from San Diego. So you're also from San Diego. Awesome, cool. I haven't actually checked out. I didn't check out the office when I was there. But I worked at a different company in San Diego. And there's not a lot of development studios in San Diego, so fully aware of Psionics. And I went to the Psionics' first Rocket League birthday at Comic-Con, which is really cool.
Nice.
Is any improvements to the audio at all? Still cracking a bit.
There's a way to like restart.
I could try to restart this. But like the demo audio volume is too high in the streaming software. Oh. Okay, I can give that a shot. Let me give that a shot.
Yeah, if it's blowing out the channel, that might be a problem. Yeah, grab that bar.
So I'm kind of lowering it. Okay, but I also don't know what that implies for like the source, because I had the source lowered too.
You should be fine.
Yeah, even though it's not. All that, and then I'll just lower it in the actual OBS.
Nothing like working out stream audio issues. Classic.
Yeah, so yeah, because when I do the audio test locally, it's like I record it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think well, I have an idea. Okay. All right. So let's just continue to get people's feedback and then see if it's still not perfect, but it's listenable. Okay.
C-43.
Well, I don't know if I can make it any better at this point. I don't. But
where's Power Up, man?
Yeah, Power Up. He's gonna like swing in through the window with his grappling hook. You're like, I heard somebody needed audio help.
They're gonna power up our audio.
Yeah. Yes, that is resident dad joke.
Mm-hmm.
Chad. Okay, so let's begin. So Industry Titan, and actually we only have one set of headphones, so you're gonna be missing out on some of the cool audio, which is like a bit of a
That's
bummer.
alright. I am looking forward to actually sitting down and playing it myself.
Okay, so let's check this out.
Alright. I love that art, man.
Welcome to Titan.
Oh gosh, this has
a
changed so
moon
much.
with endless opportunities for acquiring wealth and power. As a new arrival, your first order of business will be to increase your population and then your workforce. To begin, construct the appropriate residential devices inside your headquarters.
Okay, so the lady that just spoke just now is the councilwoman, and we gotta put it in press mode real quick. She's a councilwoman, and the council is this overseeing entity that watches all the activities on Titan, and they're actually responsible for inviting sort of entrepreneurs to travel from off-world onto Titan and have them start their new corporations. The reason for this is, as she kind of implied, or she will imply shortly, is that your actions on Titan benefit the council. So this is the council hall, and it's kind of where you make contact with the council. But so, and what you'll notice here is sort of like when you start, you're sort of like surrounded by all these ruins of an ancient civilization. And as you play the game, you sort of discover the history behind these ruins and sort of why they're there. Okay, so the first thing that she asked us to do is kind of work towards growing our population, our workforce.
Yep.
Okay, so the way we do that is we go inside the headquarters
This
here.
is your
Oh,
headquarters.
look at that.
I suggest you construct habitat
This reminds me of the
pods
shipbuilding
inside
a
this
little bit that we
headquarters.
had earlier.
These pods will provide adequate storage for your future population. You can build the necessary devices for your startup operation here, next to your factory equipment. Please enjoy your new headquarters. We've ensured that it contains everything you need to advance the Council's goals.
I like how she refers to it as human storage. That's pretty dark,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, you store them next to your factory equipment because you have this one sort of like empty factory. So this interior, the art, all the voxel art you see is done by Sir Karma, who's in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone in the chat would like to ask any questions, you can ask him. He's also the art director on the project as well.
Oh, that's a cool effect, man.
So these interiors are also done by Antoine Sir Karma. So the first thing I did here was I built a habitat pod, which increases my living space by 2, and it requires my resources. So I have these starting minerals 5. I'm 5 now, but I had 10, and I used 5 of them to build this habitat pod. So now that I have this habitat pod, I can accommodate for 2 more citizens. And right now I'm 0 out of 2. So the first thing to know is that there are 2 types of pop.
The nearby spaceport will soon be in operation. Once it is operational, you may bid on the contents of incoming cargo ships. Spend enough of your council influence, and the contents of any ship can be yours. The next migration is in 1 minute.
Okay, so there's two types of pop. There are workers, and workers do like build actions for you, and other types of actions. And then pop are are not in your control. They're just the citizens that kind of live. Sorry, citizens are not in your control. They're just like the people that live in your city. And your goal is to sort of grow your population in sort of both ways. If you want more actions, then you grow your workers, your laborers, and if you want just more civilians, then you grow the citizens. So what the councilwoman had notified me of is that the
Space station operations. Are you the replacement? Oh, well, never mind about that. Anyway, I think you're gonna want to hear this information. You see, the council provides a new round of ships every few cycles. They're full of cargo and migrants. If you want the contents, you'll have to place a bid on a ship. The council favors the highest bidder. Hope you last longer than the last newcomer. No, seriously, it's rough out there.
Okay, so this is the migration phase, and this happens periodically. And basically, this is how you acquire incoming population or residents for your corporation. So you have these migrants, or you have these 4 ships, and they have different types of cargo. So this one is only migrants and no resources. And I can't accommodate for 4 because I only had 2 living space. So I can't actually acquire this ship.
Right.
But I want the 2 pop, so I'm gonna attempt to acquire this one by spending my council influence. And other corporations in this planet are also spending their influence to try to acquire these as well. So I don't want to be too cheap with this. I kind of want to like ensure that I get it. And also, you can build on multiple ships, so I kind of want the resources from this one as well. So I'm going to put my influence on that. So this will end in about 3 seconds, and then we'll see the results of what happens
Hey,
here.
this is the operator.
Oh, I see.
It looks like you won your first shipment.
So you have Light
Well on your
Freighter
way
and the
well,
TRS Pupa, huh?
Whatever it is people come here for. We'll be sending the contents to you shortly, so keep an eye on the space.
Cool, the ship takes off. Nice.
And if you're not a fan of what you got, don't worry. There's always next time.
Okay, so I acquired these 2 pop, and they're just gonna kind of inhabit that living space that I have here. They're traveling to the building. They're traveling here,
Oh yeah, look at him go.
and then once they're inside, they'll inhabit this pod. So Nick Gunn is the other artist on the project, and he's responsible for the animations for the civilians. And so he did all the walking, and he also did the civilian art as well. So any of the
Operator
non-box art is by
It
Nick Gunn.
looks like we got another group of ships inbound with more, resources. The bidding will start pretty soon, and I think we have better cargo this time. So take a look when you can.
Yep. So he did the models for the population and the laborers, or the citizens and the laborers. Okay, so I want to go out here real quick because I need to explain sort of the world interaction, because that was kind of like the population growth interaction. So, like I was saying, you're surrounded by these ruins of an ancient civilization, and they're all of this ruin art and environmental art is by Nick Gunn. He's in the chat. You can ask him any questions as well. And you interact with these ruins.
I've been assigned as your corporation monitor. As you can see, the remains of Titan's former inhabitants sprawl across the surface. Preliminary scans have shown that they are filled with valuable resources and artifacts. But before we can profit from their misfortune, we must first claim the land from the council.
Okay, so that gentleman. Well, I guess I forgot to explain the other gentleman too, but that gentleman is the corporation monitor, and the council assigned the corporation monitor to watch your actions and make sure that you're behaving. And they're sort of under the idea that they're helping you. But the reason why the corporation monitor helps you is because you succeeding also benefits the council.
Right.
So it's kind of weird because he does monitor all your actions and and reports them. So, but he is very helpful. And in this case, he's telling you that these ruins have valuable resources in them. So I click this one level 1 ruin that's to the south of our starting HQ. And it contains, there's a couple options that we can do here. We know that we can salvage it and acquire resources. However, we don't know the contents of those, the contents of this ruin. So we don't know actually what resources that we're going to get. or we can extract the technologies from the ruin and acquire the technology to use towards research. Or you can just destroy it and get nothing. And destroying is like the fastest way to just get rid of something.
Right.
So you have an option to survey, and if I tell one of my workers to survey, he'll exit this building that he was stored in, and he'll start to scan the ruin to tell me what's inside.
That's cool. Yeah, I really like the little character animations.
I've noted that you have
Those
surveyed
are nice.
some ruins. Successful surveys will tell us what remains within each ruin. Now, you must decide whether to salvage for resources or extract any artifacts.
Okay, so now I have this option to either acquire the 5 minerals, which is a good amount of minerals, or get the 2 artifacts. And in this case, I will go for the artifacts because they're actually kind of harder to find. So he's actually going to sort of destroy the ruin and extract the artifacts from it, and then I'll acquire the
We
technologies.
have acquired an artifact from a ruin. These artifacts can improve our understanding of the prior civilization's technology, or we can sell them to the council for future favors.
So the game is modeled after more recent Sims. So rather than telling individual workers what tasks they should be doing, you can just kind of cube a list of actions, and they'll just go through and they'll do those actions for you. So I want to answer some couple questions here. Is the VO final or placeholder? This VO was done to guide players through the PAX demo, and we're going to be adding more VO to it, and also iterating on our VO as we add more characters to the game and whatnot. Nick Gunn is the character artist and character designer for the game, so all the characters that you see, he came up with. And the one character I forgot to mention is the spaceport operator. So the gentleman that we saw earlier who's operating the spaceport, he lives in a space station that's off the surface, like in the orbital area, or sort of like what do you call that, like the outer atmosphere, like just outside the atmosphere of the planet. Like
It's like the Karman line on Earth, but you don't orbit there. You orbit higher than that.
Yeah. Well,
Depends if you want to stay over an object, you'd be in geosynchronous orbit or not.
For a bit of history, Chad was a developer on Kerbal Space Program and Universe Sandbox 2, so he's kind of our resident space sci-fi fact checker, which is great. But yeah, so like there's a space station off the surface of Titan, and the off-world ships come and they travel there and they dock, and that's when the corporations decide which ship they want, and then from there they kind of land to their appropriate spaceport, because there's multiple spaceports per planet, and we're just on a small section of Titan itself. Let's see, stratosphere. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of.
You got to be higher than that, or you'll hit particles of the atmosphere.
like space garbage.
Well, no, you'll be hitting like molecules, and you'll also be slowing down. It's a decaying.
Oh,
orbit.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. We are 5 full time. We just acquired a new programmer, so that would make us 6, and then we have several contractors. Audio is a contractor. Same with VFX. Also, we have the illustrated art is another contractor, but we have a musician in-house, but he's not full time on the project.
An awesome musician.
Yeah, Danny B, the musician for Crypto the Necrodancer, and other Brace Yourself games, except for Phantom Brigade, which is Riley Cohen.
Yeah, Riley's doing the music in Phantom Brigade. That was back before we had access to it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make some decisions here and extract these. So none of those actually had isotopes, which is kind of what I'm looking for.
No.
Okay, so this green area is my starting
Your
territory.
salvage operation
And
was successful.
oh, sorry.
The resources from these ruins can be used to construct devices and other buildings.
The VO is handled by Power Up Audio. Sorry. So this is my starting territory, and this is sort of the land that I own from the council. And all the other land is owned by the council, which I can claim by spending influence. And my influence is up here. It's I have influence is a resource that generates over time based on my standing with the council. and I have a maximum of 50. And so I can spend it on various things like acquiring new ships or expanding my territory. Basic, like, basic corporation growth activities. And I also have actions to trade with the council. For the PAX demo, we have a simple version of trading, and it'll be different going forward. But this very simple version is we can exchange minerals, technology, and isotopes in exchange for influence, or spend influence in exchange for that in return. But there'll eventually be other actions that you can do with the council other than resource trading, like acquiring scout ships or small military ships, and some other behaviors that we aren't going to talk about yet. Will there be localizations in other languages? We do plan to localize text in other languages, but localizing VO would prove to be a little bit difficult. As our current scope, or our current plan for the game is to have quite a bit of VO. You may have noticed that there's quite a bit of voice comms that appear in the corner. Those are people that are talking to you presently, and the current idea is that we're going to have a lot of different characters that you can interact with and sort of learn the history of, especially because there are other corporations out there, and you are not the first person on Titan either. There are other corporations that have existed on Titan prior to you, and there will be many more to become after you. And so learning about that through having conversations with people is sort of our goal. Or not conversations, but like hearing their voice comms towards you. Oh, okay. There's another element to the game that I haven't explained yet. So this is the population simulation, and we have 3 laborers, and we can actually increase that count.
Survey successful.
So let's see how to do that. Okay, so the way you do that is you increase.
I see you're creating a conversion center. You can use this device to train your population to become obedient workers who will toil for you endlessly. There may be some long-term consequences, but it's a voluntary procedure, so your conscience is clear.
Okay, so yep, I built the conversion capsule, and so what you do is you take this citizen who has, a regular life and lives a normal life, and you convert them into a laborer who basically never sleeps and only works 24 hours a day. And that's after they go through your conversion process. So here I have 2 citizens, and I can send them to the 1 training pod to become a laborer. So, yep. So now you'll see that he gets out, he gets trained, and once he's done with that process, I'll have 4 workers to then do more actions.
The spaceport is now open.
It's Kit
Hi,
Fox
Kit Fox.
Games.
Yep.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, hey, Niesel. How you doing? Okay, so the monetization station is we have a resource called credits. And credits are used for the construction of various other devices. So it's like a third resource, but it's a non-physical resource. It's not like you find it in the world. You get credits by telling your population. It's one of the primary reasons why you want to grow your citizens. You get credits by telling your citizens to watch ads through the monetization station. And so when you build this monetization station, it'll send one of them to go and watch ads for you, and it generates revenue for your company. And you can build lots of these and make more money. So that's why you kind of grow your population.
That's dark.
It's dark, but that's how the world really works.
Oh no.
Okay, so I'm going to keep expanding my territory. Oh, and I also want to free this up here. Hi, Latch. Thanks for subscribing for 2 years. Wow, it's amazing.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, if I show you. Yep, so he's in here.
Oh god.
Yep, comes in, this helmet wraps around his head, and it's just a screen 360, and they just kind of spam him with ads.
Doesn't he even get a chair?
No, just watch. Chairs are expensive, man. So now I'm generating credits to build buildings. Okay, so now here's the city building aspect. So the first thing I need to do is build a power plant. In my HQ, I had a power generator, which was enough to generate power for my just the current building and the devices inside. But I want to build a power plant so I can power future buildings around my city. And you'll also notice that I'm kind of getting tight on space here, so I want to work towards a factory. So, let's see. I have all these survey tasks queued up.
Survey
I want- oops.
successful.
I just like blindly salvaged that, and now I don't even know what I'm gonna get.
So can you move the station's position inside of a building for free?
If I wanted to move the device,
Mhm.
yeah. So the way we currently have it, it's not in this demo, but the way we're going to have it is, you can dismantle any object that you build, and if you I just wanted to say real quick, Joey Godard in the Twitch is the gentleman from Power Up Audio who's responsible for the audio design of the game. So all of the sound effects, the UI, and game sounds are from Joey. So if you have any audio questions, ask him. Okay, so if you back to the question, how do you move stuff or destroy stuff? So we call it the action dismantle, and you can deconstruct any device or building that you've made, and it reduces it back down to its mineral components. So like in this case, we just have like these boxes from the resources lying around. If I were to deconstruct this, it would convert it back down to boxes, and then you can put it into a storage container or storage facility. Yeah, so I have the storage containers right here. And
I see.
Right, and then you could pack stuff in there. Alright, so I got my power plant, and the goal of the demo is to work towards building this defensive turret, but because I turned off the demo timer, we're not in a rush to do that, so I can just kind of show off what we have. So a lot of what you can do on a sort of like individual level, like the beds and whatnot, you can actually do on a macro level. So here we have these habitat pods that make 2 beds each, and it's going to be hard to make a city of 1,000 population building just 2 at a time. So I can build a residential building once I provide I have enough resources, and that is a building that just has a ton of those in there.
Man, those construction animations are really cool with the devices and the buildings. It's good
Oh
stuff.
yeah, this. Antoine did this like along with Clement built the scaffolding animation, construction animation.
It's a cool shader effect. I always love good VFX.
Yep, and the other 2 members on the team that I haven't spoken out about yet is Ben Humphreys. So Ben Humphreys is the UI designer, and so all the UI that you see and this sort of like interaction, especially like the animations and the feel of like clicking the buttons and stuff, he's the designer for that, the UX designer. And a game like this, as Chad knows, as Chad is like a huge Paradox fan, it is like a massive undertaking in UI compared to like, if we made a platformer, there's not as much UI in that game versus like this, which is like tons of menus. Yeah. So hats off to Ben for really sticking to it and really taking it on the challenge of doing it too. And then our other programmers, our lead programmer, Jeremy Phillips. And Jeremy is responsible for a majority of the game code. In fact, the game simulation code and gameplay logic is from Jeremy. And that's a lot of work as well, as you can imagine, as we have a lot going on. Okay, so let's see.
So you're kind of just expanding, eating up the resources, but those are just a fixed resource. Once you eat them, they're gone. How do you get resources once you've cleared the area?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Okay, so initially you're kind of scrapping around for what's kind of local, and then at some point you need some sort of like steady income. So the demo, we structured the demo to be sort of like a shorter experience, but what happens in the longer game is you get to where you'll notice that there's these mineral nodes, isotopes, and minerals, and you could build a mine. And the way the mine works is it has like a radius around it that it can have sort of like a straw that connects to the node. So you build the mine, like let's say I could build it here, and I connect my underground straw to connect to the mineral. And that allows you to sort of reach nodes that are further away, and also you can kind of drink from the opponent's milkshake, so to speak. Like you can just go underneath and like take from it.
Drink from his milkshake is
Yeah.
not a term I've heard
It's
used for mining. It's pretty good.
It's a reference from There Will Be Blood, the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you have like there's like two rival oil companies, and like one made a straw that went underground and went all the way down, and he's referred to as drinking from his milkshake.
That's
Yeah.
it's terrible but awesome.
Yeah, so that's how you can get resources, and the mine operates where you actually it has to employ people. So the level 1 mine, you can place, and then you can put up to 5 workers on it to extract resources into that mine, and then you have those people. You have another set of workers move the resources from the mine to your local storage.
Right.
And as you upgrade your mine, you can increase the number of nodes you can drink from, and as well as the number of workers you can assign to it, as well as its local storage capacity and whatnot. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of buildings in the game, and they all have like many of them are kind of like a unique element to it, and I think the biggest one is the shipyard.
Yep.
Which I will actually have to load the PAX West demo in order to explain how the shipyard works, because the other demo that we made for PAX West starts from the player's point of view if they had just built the shipyard. And
Yep.
I can play that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have played.
Yep. So I can just showcase that one as well, but I also want to let you show off to Phantom Brigade. So maybe I'll do it after Phantom Brigade. So let's see.
Yeah, I gotta see if we have time there.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. What have I not talked about yet? So I converted.
So one of the things that seems a lot different from my perspective, at least, is in so many of these city builders, the first thing I'm doing is laying down roads, but I haven't seen us get anywhere near a road yet. So how do roads work? Are they even necessary?
Okay, so as you notice, everyone's kind of carrying things by hand when they're walking. It's super inefficient, especially because in the beginning you only have a few workers. They can only carry 5 by hand, and the travel time is really slow. And in some of the screenshots that we've shown of like what endgame looks like, where your city is like massive, this massive metropolis,
Salvage successful.
it would take forever to walk by hand minerals across the world. So you're right, Chat. There is a whole transportation element to it. And so the way that works is once you build your transport hub, you unlock the ability to build roads. And the transport hub enables you a couple things. One, it allows you to build trucks, which are transportation vehicles which can hold magnitudes greater resources, like in the hundreds. And so you use the transport hub to build trucks first, and then once you have those trucks, they're available for your workers to use to commute resources. And they travel on the roads, which are significantly faster. Faster, assuming that you don't have too much traffic, because there's the actual traffic. The way the citizens benefit from it is, in this case, the citizen's job is to watch ads for you, and this gentleman is fortunate that his commute to work is just getting out of bed and walking to it.
Right.
But in the future, you're gonna make this building here, which is an office, which employs your population, and that may be very far from your residential building, which is this one. And then so, rather than walking across the city to work, your population will get commuter vehicles, like into personal cars, right? Assuming they can afford it, because they also get a portion of the income from watching ads for their personal expenses. So once they can afford a car, they go to the transport hub and they buy the car, and then they can take the car to back forth to work, assuming that it's a faster travel for them. And if it's slower, then they'll walk instead.
So it seems like early on you're going to be placing your buildings as close together as possible because you don't want long commute times. Can you move a building? What do you do if you want to put a road in but there's a building in the way?
Yeah, so you would probably have to dismantle the building that's already there, build the road across it, and then rebuild your building somewhere else.
Okay, so you can dismantle a building like you can dismantle the equipment inside?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And the way I currently have it balanced now is we're not gonna enforce a resource punishment to refactor, because I imagine you're gonna be refactoring a lot, and it also takes time and labor power to refactor in the first place, and that's enough of a drain on your system's efficiency that like removing a percentage of your resources just felt like too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's see, am I missing any questions here?
You know, all those electric scooters would end up in those lakes.
Oh, electric scooters? Oh yeah, that'd be hilarious. Just like it's the future. Cyberpunk electric scooters, yeah. And then Chad's right, like they're just people get like angry and just gather them up and throw them in the lake. There's like pictures of those kind of things like in mountains because people are just so mad at them.
Survey successful.
Okay. Also, one thing I haven't really been doing is bidding. Okay, so I'm gonna build this guy to end the demo here.
I can tell you play RTS games because you're just like click, 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 click.
Oh, and I've also just done the demo like so many times. Yeah.
The spaceport is now open for bidding.
Crap. I think I played the.
Survey
Oh,
successful.
there's another thing that I haven't really discussed either. Is the map itself is will be procedurally generated. So like every time you play, it'll be different. Of course, I felt like that was kind of a given, but some people asked that during PAX, so I felt like I should.
Right. So are the other corporations physically on the same map with you?
In this demo, no.
Right.
And the goal is to have them also on the map with you, and like they're growing it concurrently. That's a large undertaking though, because we haven't really decided we haven't really gotten to the phase where we can like see how much optimization or how much the game needs to be optimized before like sustaining that. And also, I think there's a lot of desire to have multiple rival corporations as well. So that's a lot of to consider. But in this current demo, they're not physically on the map with you.
Okay. How big are the cities going to be?
So this map is 64 by 64, and I think we want to push it as far as we can. The question is like how I don't think we're gonna know like how
Salvage successful.
we're not gonna know exactly where that point is of like how far we can push it until we've implemented all the systems.
Right. You want to find that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm kind of like rushing along here. Oh, I need space. I'm trying to get to this. I'm so close. So close. Sounds like Chad's almost ready with his demo.
I am enjoying seeing this though.
Another thing to note is that there's different levels of ruins. So we have level 1, 2, and 3 ruins, and once you acquire the technologies, you can start interacting with the greater ones. And the higher level the ruin, the more resources that it's going to have, like the higher density of, the higher chance of rare resources and the more quantity of common resources.
So did you show the inside of the factory?
Oh crap! Thank you, Antoine. That's why I built it.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep,
Right.
there you go. And this is because I'm super poor right now, but this is because the HQ has a very limited start space.
So I saw like conveyor lines and stuff. Is this getting a little Factorio in there? Are you making like production lines? What are you doing?
Yeah. So for the purposes of this demo, we only showed the combat flow. Crap. Okay, hold on. I have to do this before the demo
there's
finishes.
I see
combat.
you have discovered
Whoa! Look at that.
While the Council does not condone violence, corporations are free to pursue profits by any means necessary. If your headquarters is destroyed, the Council will be forced to terminate its agreement with your parent corporation.
Okay. So the combat floor is because if you lose your HQ, you lose the game. And certain buildings are equipped with a top floor that you can build weapons on, and that also makes it also flags those buildings as hostile. So rival corporations can't just blow up your residential buildings and kill all your population. They can only attack military military flagged buildings, which includes your headquarters. So you defend your headquarters by building weapons on it, and then if a ship comes and attacks your building, the building can actually defend itself.
This looks like the same sort of interface that was in the ship combat, right?
Yes. So when we get to the ship combat demo after the Phantom Brigade demo, then I can explain how the combat floor works a little bit better. Yeah, and then this factory view is basically for what you had mentioned earlier, that there are conveyor belts.
Mm-hmm.
And for the purposes of the demo, we simplified the resources because, I've been talking about this for about 30 minutes and there's just a lot to take in, and it's a 15-minute demo. But the way the resources actually work is when you find them in the wild, they're unrefined and they're not ready to be processed into actual devices yet. You actually have to process them. So you build devices that convert them from raw resources into refined resources, and then combine those refined resources into components that you then use to make the devices that you do want.
Interesting.
And to do that, you have to build inputs and you have devices that have inputs and outputs. So this is the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Founder, it appears that a rival corporation is attempting to acquire some of your assets. Since you are not the aggressor, you are not required to pay a war bond. Use of force is authorized.
Well, get wrecked.
Okay, so I am going to exit this and then answer some of your questions while Chad sets up Phantom Brigade.
Where's the computer at?
So it's behind there. Best of luck. Okay, so let's talk about. Okay, so what I was talking about is I was talking about automating supply lines. So you find the resource, and then it needs to enter an input device, which then outputs a different resource so that you can then convert it into the device that you want. And it might need to go through multiple levels of processing. This mouse. Dun, dun, dun. And when it's at the end of a processor, or like a purifier or centrifuge, and it's waiting to be picked up and then put to another device to then process it further, a worker is going to need to do that transportation, and that's kind of inefficient, right? Because they have to walk back and forth every single time, as well as actually operate the device. So you can set up conveyor belts so that it outputs onto the conveyor belt, and then that conveyor belt takes it to the input of another device, and then that automates that system. So there's that angle to it too, and the build space is going to be part of that challenge because there's, as you can see in the beginning, it's very limited until you upgrade it. Okay, so the question that Cal Guinness asks, can you set up supply chains between buildings? Yes. So when you do it between buildings, it's in the form of trucks. So like, let's say you have two factories and one's processing a certain type of resource, and you need that resource A to go to the second factory to process into resource B. You would then have your trucks travel back and forth. And one of the things that we're talking about is eventually taking it to the air, so like doing drones or something, some other way to make that more efficient, to have the resources kind of travel through buildings. But it would go, a person would take it, a person or a conveyor belt would take it to the truck, then the truck would take it from out in the outside view to the building, and then dump it back into the inside view, and then a conveyor belt from that inside view would then take it to a device there. What if the resources are Pokemon and factories are just Poke Centers? I don't have an answer to that.
You gotta collect them all.
Yeah, you gotta collect them all.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Ken. Cappy Ken is my good friend for many years. He was the project lead and designer of Super Time Force at Cappy.
Cappy makes such good stuff.
Yeah. And Cappy just recently shipped Below, which is a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
And so if you and also some of our other friends were in the chat, like Kid Fox. They're the creators of the upcoming Boyfriend Dungeon, which a lot of people are looking forward to. And I saw earlier my good friend Brendan from Blendo Games is also in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, his new game looks so good, man.
Mhm.
What is the name of it? It's like
Skin Deep.
Skin Deep. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. It's like a systemic
I know.
first-person
Like
shooter.
action. Yeah, like
Oof. Picking glass out of you.
or like you shoot the pipe and the fire comes out of the pipe.
Yeah. All right. So
so you have the mouse here.
Sure. Phantom Brigade demo is just copying over. We'll be ready in a minute. Oh, we're actually showing it on the stream. You get to see my exciting copy progress.
Oh, we could do.
There we go.
Oh, actually.
Ooh.
I'm blocking. That's fine.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, Chad. Could you introduce yourself?
I'm totally blocking my name. Yeah, so I'm Chad Jenkins. I am the creative director, but I wear a lot of hats. We're a small indie studio, so that's kind of how this works. And I have been working on Phantom Brigade, which is another one of our games here at Brace Yourself Games. It is a turn-based tactical RPG with giant, fully customizable mechs. Pretty excited to show it to you. We've shown it in the past, previously, the original version of the combat that we built, but we've actually completely redesigned the combat since then. So this new version has been redone from the ground up to fix the issues that we found with the first round of playtesting that we did. So I'm pretty excited to show it.
Oh, so this is even newer than the PAX East.
The first round of playtesting we did was actually back when we were Tetragon Works, and we did a public alpha.
I see.
Right. And then we've actually fixed a lot of things in regards to the feedback we got from PAX East. One of the things we do a lot is constantly iterate and get feedback and put out builds and let people try it. So it's been pretty exciting. All right, here we go. Exciting copy progress.
Okay, and if I can just answer a couple of these Titan questions. So when you shoot enemy ships, will they just disappear, or will they actually crash and cause damage to some of the buildings? So the goal that we have in mind, although it hasn't been implemented yet, is that if the ship is over a building, the ship that gets destroyed does crash and damage the building beneath it. Nice. That's currently the goal. Although we have to kind of play test and see if the balance of that works. Also, will Titan be able to play in my 1440p monitor, the 1070? We want to optimize it as much as we can. It's really difficult to say now how it'll perform with that specific setup. I think we're running it on 1070s. Like my laptop has a 1070, and but it's not running at 1440. No, the monitor above is 1440. Yeah, so very likely, very, very likely. It does support 1440p though, for sure. And in fact, we ran it at 4K at PAX. How many hours of playtime will it have? So our goal is to have Titan have this be one of these sandbox games that has, like, you can play one session for many, many hours. What amount that is, we'll have to figure out when we get there, because we're constantly adding stuff to it.